Happy Monday, everyone. Thank you for being here for our monthly community concerns focused Goleta Wrap meeting. I'm Landon Rank, the Associate Director with SB Act, joined by my colleague Kai Roldan, and as also with Chuck Blacks, the Homeless Services Coordinator for the City of Goleta. So just a couple general announcements. There's quite a bit going on in the world of homelessness right now. Just wanted to let you all know, and I'll put the flyer up in a second, but are having our next South County wide webinar on Monday the 9th. So I guess 2 weeks from today at noon. Encourage you to join us. The City of Goleta is participating in this South County Coalition, so it's just a chance to hear about kind of what's going on throughout the whole region. The specific topics that we're going to be focusing on are what is going on with encampment response, including vehicular encampments throughout the county. And then also we'll have a presentation from Behavioral Wellness about the Care Courts program that's
Oh,
really
good.
kicking into gear, I think at the end of or next month and in the coming months. So I encourage you to join us as you're able. And then also just want to put on everyone's radar that our annual point in time count of people experiencing homelessness will be Wednesday, January 22nd. The registration link is not live yet, but I do want you to at least pencil it in on your calendar. And then after Thanksgiving, we'll have a volunteer link for you all to sign up. We need hundreds of volunteers throughout the county, so appreciate anybody who's able to join in and help out. I wanted to share this. I think several of you have already filled this out because I emailed you directly, but I wanted to just encourage everybody, if you have time, go ahead and fill this 5-minute survey out. For our whole South County wide coalition, we're just trying to get feedback from community members and everyone who participates about how we can improve the way we do these meetings and the way that we facilitate all of our like collaborative efforts in general. So I'll put the link in the chat window there. And as you have time, it's just 5 minutes long. So the link for that meeting on December 9th, I will pull from our Zoom account and see if I can just put it in the chat window, but there is a QR code there on the screen as well. Um, Give me 1 second to pull that link, and that's in the chat. So it is officially warming center season, and right on time with the rains coming. So these are the spaces where people experiencing homelessness are able to go during rainy days or rainy nights in particular, or cold nights during these times. So they are activated tonight. So if anyone is wondering, from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. At the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara, so 1535 Santa Barbara Street. There is also a warming center in Carpinteria at the Carpinteria Veterans Hall. These locations do change depending on when the rainy times happen, which is why it's not listed here on the flyer. But we wanted to make sure you all were aware. And then you can always call the hotline on any given day just to check, and there's a recorded message sharing whether the warming centers are activated that night. And then finally, just wanted to share, or I guess not finally, second to last thing, there is a annual vigil on the longest night of the year, which is the winter solstice, to commemorate those who passed away unhoused in the last year, and includes a reading of all their names. It's a really, I think, moving event. Chuck has been really involved with planning that over the years. Um, and we now have a group of people with lived experience of homelessness that help to plan and lead that. So really powerful event. Encourage you to check it out if you're available. I know it's, right in the thick of holiday season, but there is an RSVP link there in the chat window. And then the last thing is the annual sleeping bag drive. So this is hosted by the Public Defender's Office, and they'll be collecting through or on December 4th, I guess is the distribution day, but they're collecting up until then, Monday to Friday. So as you're able, please feel free to give.
Lennon, do we know how these get distributed once they're collected?
I believe they just set up there in front of their office. Like the address there is the same as the drop-off location. Emily, do you know? I see you on the call. may not be able to
There,
answer
sorry
right
about
now.
that. No, I can't. Yeah, the distribution events are listed there, and if you
Oh, there we
it's
go.
a
Okay, I see.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
with
so that's
that,
something that our outreach teams should probably pencil in somewhere that because there's specific days that their clients could actually go and get materials. So it's something to pay attention to. That's good.
right. So with that, I'll pass it over to Chuck to share from the city of Goleta.
Hi, everyone. So in terms of, I think probably the best thing to do is to present the data that I've been collecting for the month of October, and then entertain any questions about that. Following my presentation will be presentations from the different outreach teams. So if you have particular questions about hotspots or particular people, we can we can talk about those with the outreach teams. Um, so let me share my, do I need anything from you, Linda, to share my screen?
No, I made you a co-host.
Okay, cool. There it is. Okay, let me see if I can, there we go. Okay, good. Move this. Okay, can people see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So this is the October data report. There's some changes to our formatting, and there's also new data that we're going to be reporting on going forward. Um, I like this presentation of our flow. These are the newly identified people on a monthly basis in blue, and those housed in orange. And it's kind of an interesting trend. I mean, you can see that we had a lot of placements at Buena Tierra, that those are the big numbers in orange. And then what we're seeing both in September and October is a fairly large number of new people coming into Goleta and being identified as homeless. Some of that is the result of encampment closures that have been happening around the county. Um, some of it is, you know, some a natural flow. I mean, I think as we track this over time, we'll see if certain months are more likely than others. But this is kind of where we're at. Currently, if you go back the last 4 or 5 months, we're definitely in a situation where the inflows are exceeding the numbers of people homeless. But online coming up is going to be a lot of housing opportunities, hopefully in 2025, but definitely in 2026 as well.
So Chuck, before you move on from there, I mean, that's an enormous increase from
Yes,
an increase from 4 to 35. I mean, that's a huge percent of our homeless population, really, is
right.
and yeah, at some point, getting the information on why we're seeing such enormous influx would be valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether or not it's an aberration. I mean, you can see back in April and June, we had some big influxes too. So it's,
Right.
um, you know, and 3 or 4 people move the dots. So I mean, these are significant. You're right, but I'm not sure they're an aberration. I think we do see ebbs and flows of people. Um, I can't speak much more than that because this is relatively new
Right.
data.
No, and but the observation that it's from encampment clearings by other jurisdictions would be important information that they're basically pushing their people into our city. If that's the case, we need to communicate.
So I know with some of the county data around, like when they show newly, or at least their graphs will often be like newly enrolled in services. And so it may be representative of just the fact that people are actually coming out for services more often than maybe they had in the past.
Yeah, the vast majority of these numbers of the new people are newly enrolled. So as I've have stated in months past, there's some benefit to this because we're actually seeing people entering the homeless serving system. Um, and in fact, because we have such strong outreach in our community, many people are are when they're observed and when they're, you know, we see them in various places, they're getting a lot of touches from our outreach teams, and so that's important. But in terms of the cause, that's always a tricky issue. It's hard to know precisely, and it's something that we will continue to monitor. Um, in, moving forward, so in terms of overall totals of people, there current people who are identified as homeless in Goleta, including all the people coming out of HMIS, as well as observational data, is it's 228. 71 of these are people over 55. 4 are transition age youth, and 9 are veterans. We've identified a few more veterans. And the nice thing about the veterans is that, you know, if we can get them to work with the Veterans Administration and with some of the providers that provide veteran services, is that there's a lot of resources for them.
And Chuck, just to maybe add to that, we have our veteran case conference this Tuesday. And so would love to make sure we have them on our veteran by name list and are connecting them with all veteran services. We also have our veteran collaborative housing homelessness working group at 2, and that's where we talk more about, you know, policy and strategy. So if there, you know, specific veteran needs, that would be a good place to bring those issues also.
That's great. Thank you for that reminder, Emily. In terms of where people are, so we currently have, of the 228 people, we have 72 who are still in encampments, 63 in shelter. So that's, as I'll show in the next section, that's a number that's been growing pretty steadily, which is good news. That means people are going into interim housing. 35 have are in our system living in vehicles, and 58 are inactive. And what I've decided to do is, after a year of inactivity, I've decided to stop putting them in this category, because we just have completely lost contact with folks. HMIS never deletes people from the system, and we never give up on anybody. But if we can't find them and they're not contacting us and we literally don't know where they are, it's hard to know whether or not they're in the city of Goleta. This is the slide I was referring to. So as you can see, we have seen over the course of this year, you know, an increase, total overall increase in the number of people up to 228. But some positives are that if you look at the orange bar, those are the sheltered people. We've also seen an increase in the number of people sheltering. I mean, it's very, you know, kind of goes up and down a little bit, but that's reflective of the fact that we've seen an increase in shelter capacity. Hedges has expanded. Something that I would like to see are more people identified in vehicles. And so that's the lighter blue. I'm sorry, no, that's the green bar. And as you can see, that number has stayed pretty consistent. So my hope is that the New Beginnings outreach we may see some increase in the number of people who are part of the homeless system who are living in vehicles. In terms of income, this didn't change from last month. We are going to be implementing. Oh, go ahead, Emily.
Just going back to the inactivity, you know, we definitely have seen that in the coordinated entry system as an issue where we had to come up with policies around inactivity. And we decided eventually to align with what the VA does, which is if there's been, you know, no, and this is for people who aren't enrolled with a provider, because then we're assuming that they're active. But if they're not enrolled with a provider, if there've been repeated attempts to locate them after 90 days, you know, then they would be exited from the shared coordinated entry project so that they would become inactive. And I think we tend to see a lot of people who are inactive just because some of them are still experiencing homelessness, but others do move out of the area or self-resolve and are no longer homeless.
I appreciate that clarification. In terms of source of income, it hasn't changed. And the caveat to that is that I hope that as we implement our new HMIS system, the Clarity system, starting next month, that we're going to see the numbers of people's income levels changing. Typically, what happens is someone will enter the homeless serving system at some point, either at an access point or in a shelter, or you know, and report their income, and that is tends to be the number that stays with them. It takes time and energy to really track someone's income, and you really have to work with people. And we tend to spend a lot of time working on housing or getting identification and things like that. And it's then somewhat difficult to even report it in our current system just mechanically. So I'm hoping that we start to track this more effectively going forward. But as I said last month, the fact that 19% are employed, and nearly half have some kind of income is a good sign for folks. And that the average income is about $1,200. This isn't enough to afford market rate rent, but it's something, and it potentially can help people get into shared living situations. So it's not as bleak a picture from an income standpoint as you might expect. This figure is something that's of concern to me. We have 214 vehicles identified in Fulcrum. I've deduplicated that number, so where there's more than one dot for the same vehicle. And as I was showing before, that's only 35 people are enrolled in the system. And so that's of some concern. And, I'd like to, I don't know if anybody from New Beginnings is on the call, but I really would like to get a better handle on how we can figure out how to work with these folks. These are folks that are identified as homeless by New Beginnings, but they, for one reason or another, have not enrolled in the homeless serving system. In terms of, these are new charts that the Councilman Caston asked for, and I found this analysis kind of eye-opening. As you see, in terms of length of time homelessness, the vast majority, 85% of Goleta residents have been homelessness more than a year. That doesn't mean that they don't necessarily fit the definition of chronically homeless, but they do fit the time frame. And then as you see, it's like, over 20% of people have been homeless longer than 10 years. So what this means is that the needs of these folks is slightly different than just saying, oh, we'll find you a place to live. And it also means that even putting them into permanent supportive housing, as we've learned from some recent reports out of Buena Tierra, is that they need a lot of support. Many of them have never, they may not even remember the last time they paid rent. They may have some severe mental health issues or alcohol and drug issues. So we really want to make sure that we're aware that the Goleta homeless population may be of higher need. And certainly much more experience with homelessness. So I'm not going to go into it too much now, but we're developing sort of an approach to thinking about these folks that I'm going to talk about, and I will be presenting that thinking in February to the Homelessness Issues Standing Committee, because we want to make sure that we're using our resources most effectively. And for people that are really dead set on being homeless and living in encampments and don't want to talk to people and are rejecting all aid and all support, it's pretty hard to get to, as you can see, in many years, it's pretty hard to convince them to change.
Chuck,
yeah.
Just one question. This is great, by the way. This is really valuable and, thought-provoking. And that is a significant number too. That is relatively short term. I would just say that. But what I was thinking is also, if the idea of crosstabs. If we were able to see those people when you analyze it, who are, let's say, vehicular as opposed, for the length of time, it may be that a lot of the longer term ones are vehicular.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Actually, given the very relatively few number of people that we have in the system living in vehicles, these numbers are probably not driven by people living in vehicles. I think they're driven mostly by people in encampments. But I think it's a worthy question. It's something to look at. The other thing that's important, and this dispels people's conceptions that people are just coming to Santa Barbara to be homeless, is that over 80%, really over 80% have lived here more than 5 years. And 72% have lived here more than 10 years. So these are our residents. This is something and it doesn't mean they've lived in Goleta per se. I mean, if you want to get really specific about, um, uh, going to get specific about Goleta per se, we don't have that data.
Okay.
The HMIS data is spending time in the county, but they're local. I saw Irene's hand up. Irene, did you want to comment?
Yes, I spoke to Norma Fox, who's 80 years old and living in her car. She's been living at the Camino Real, and she says there's a huge group of people living there, and they're being kind of taken care of by what is that fitness? Planet Fitness. And the people at Planet Fitness have been kind of helping them. But she's been there 3 years and she's gone through the system. She's very, very upset because she's 80 and still living in her car. But she says that there's a huge homeless population there. And I don't know if you know about it or not,
We
but
do. We do know about it, and typically in these sorts of calls, we don't want to name names. We don't, unless a person wants to come
oh,
here and advocate for themselves.
yeah, she
Um,
said I
yeah.
could. I told her I was going to say something.
Oh, okay,
Take permission.
okay. It's still ethically problematic. So we can't discuss her case per se, Irene. But what we can discuss is something that you're talking about, which is a hotspot. And that area has been designated for people living in vehicles. That area is designated as part of the county's encampment relief program
Good.
that Emily can speak more to a little bit later in the call. But that area is definitely an area that's being targeted. That we're trying to get people the support and resources that they need. The part that the comment you made about staff at Planet Fitness providing homeless services is interesting.
Well,
And it may mean that it's something that I want to follow up on. And I have not heard from Planet Fitness and nor any of their staff.
well, the
Um,
reason you haven't, let me tell you, it's kind of under the table. I mean, they don't want to get anybody there in trouble, but
mhm,
they're I mean, they provide showers and it's only like $10 a month. So the
right.
people can afford to do it and they're very supportive of these people. I've seen it. And so I have a lot of respect now for Planet Fitness for doing that. And I don't want to out them or out anybody. I want you to know that there is a population, and she says she feels safer there than anywhere else, and she was in safe parking. So anyway,
Have you spoken, Irene, to any of the staff at Planet Fitness or just this person?
um, I didn't know that the Planet Fitness was so. I mean, there was one
Okay.
that was there for 3 months and never moved, and I asked about it, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's there." But they're very supportive of this group, and anyway, that's what
Yeah,
that
thank
was
you.
shocking because I belong to Planet Fitness. So I go there every day and I always wondered why people never moved.
Well,
So
thank you.
that,
So that's my report, Landon. In terms of just overseeing the activities of our contractors um, and George can comment on this specifically. I have seen a lot more evidence of homeless activity, if not actual encampments, at the Elwood Mesa open space, along city streets. A lot of shopping carts, a lot of trash and things. Some of that is students coming back from to school, and bringing the shopping carts around. So it's not exactly homelessness, but I have seen a lot of activity. People are moving around. There were the two encampment clearings that happened. One was along the Caltrans corridor, and one was along the Union Pacific corridor, just in the last few weeks. So people were cleared out of their encampments, and I know that our outreach staff have had to manage that. So, outreach providers, when you report, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of movement, in terms of possibly new encampments, et cetera. Irene, go ahead.
so Union Pacific cleared that out, took 3 days of massive cleaning. Then they came and spent 2 more days fixing the fence, putting a new gate on. I mean, it was a massive project. The next day, the fence was down.
Mm-hmm.
So the fence is down right now, and the encampment's back in service.
Yes,
I didn't know if you knew
I
that.
did know that. I had heard that.
Now, the manager of our park has decided he's going to help out with that because they didn't put a very strong fencing. They need to put strong fencing because it can come down in a second. So I don't know. That's all I have to say.
No, you're raising an important point. It's become, typically our homeless services don't extend to private property.
Right.
However, they are part of the city, and this is all part of a larger issue. And so we appreciate the intelligence. It's something that we can talk about internally with our staff about how different approaches. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
And there was a stolen kid's bike on the tracks that disappeared, and the encampment is back. It was kind of a waste. It's because
Yeah.
it's all back.
Yeah.
Irene, if you haven't already shared that with Lupe, I think it'd be good for her to at least know about the fence too, because
No. I've shared. I'm in touch with Lupe every
okay.
day.
Okay,
I
great.
gave her a picture, and so I gave her a picture. She said next week she's going to make sure that it gets fixed. But they have to fix it better than they're doing.
Yeah.
That's it. And they climb over. Oh, and one other thing. I saw a woman climbing over the gate being helped by somebody from Samaritan. Is it Samaritan's Purse? Is that the name of it? A city agency was helping her climb over the fence.
Huh.
Hmm.
I have a
Yeah,
picture. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I thought that was kind of odd.
Yes.
no. Yeah, feel free to pass that along. Thanks, Irene. Um, And then before we go to all of our different providers to check in, I also just wanted to share briefly too, we've been talking with Chuck about ways to get more community members engaged because we know we have a couple heavy hitters who come to all of these meetings, and we're really appreciative that you're here. And we want to make sure that other Goleta community members know about these meetings and have opportunities to voice their concerns and questions too. So we're trying to figure out some different strategies to get more people involved, and we've had a really good conversation with city staff about how to do that. So stay tuned. There may be some changes to the way we facilitate these meetings in the near future. So with that, let's go to our different outreach providers just to hear some updates. I don't see anyone can we go to Ellen with CityNet?
Hi, good morning. I'm homesick today, so I will probably not be available the rest of the day. But I should be in tomorrow and Wednesday. I think most of our staff is out Thursday, though. We should have some folks on Friday, just FYI. We've mostly just been working on relocating clients that have gotten cleared, trying to find where they went to. Rapport with folks. A lot of people think that I called the clearings on them, so just kind of reestablishing that rapport. I was able to attend a United Way resiliency grant training last week, which was good. That'll help with things like excess pet bills and car repairs for folks that's their barrier to getting into safe parking. So I knew a little bit about that, but I was able to attend like a long training about exactly how to navigate that grant. Gotten quite a few service requests for people flying signs. So we've been out at the marketplace a lot. Mostly they're already receiving services from an agency or they're traveling through, just making their way along the coast. But they take my card. We did get, they're no longer my clients, but they were long-term Goleta clients that are now at La Posada. Todd let me know that they're getting housed, which is really exciting. I think just a testament to like the stability of shelter and what it can do for folks. They started with like zero documentation, so really exciting to see them get inside. So thank you, Todd. Other than that, just working with our existing caseload, been meeting a lot of new folks through Faro, which I think is kind of the reason we're seeing such an increase in people being identified in homelessness. Is just more people accessing services, but they've been homeless for like many of them over 10 years. So I think it's more of a data collection than people entering homelessness or relocating to Santa Barbara necessarily. But that's all for me right now.
Thank you, Ellen. I think you said a couple of key things there, and I might be preaching to the choir, but I just want to emphasize what she was saying about one of the issues we have with, trying to coordinate encampment cleanups with our outreach teams is we want our outreach teams to have the trust of the people that they're working with. And sometimes if the clearing isn't, if we're not able to coordinate well or whatever, and even if we do, sometimes the misperception is that the teams that are doing the help and the outreach are the ones that cause the camp to get cleared. And then that causes them to lose trust with the client themselves. So appreciate you doing that work to kind of rebuild that rapport. Mary, did you have a
Lennon,
question?
Lennon,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
have a request based on what you just said, and you can think about it. I know the county supervisors are considering being potentially amending their encampment policies in a direction that may be more punitive, and more focused on clearing as opposed to providing services. Um, I just wonder if SB Act would consider some kind of formal. Uh, we could talk about it more offline, but some kind of formal response
Sure.
to that effort. Go
Sure.
ahead, Mary.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell Ellen that we connected with a guy over on Phelps. Yesterday, some people at church had mentioned that there was an encampment right by their house. We're talking about East Phelps, like on the end by the daycare center. And there's a tent over there,
Hmm.
and he was cooking and smoke and stuff was coming up. And so these folks that lived in that housing development on Phelps there by the tennis courts were concerned. And we talked to him. He seemed to know about CityNet because he asked if we were from CityNet, and we said no. And we just, asked him to not start any fires and gave him some food. But maybe you can follow up, Emily, with or somebody with CityNet.
Yeah, is that like down at the end of Pacific Oaks, like where it kind of where there used to be a lot of people parked?
No, I think it's
No,
further. I think it's further east. I think it's Phelps
yeah,
runs across Stork. I think Mary's talking about the east side of Stork.
that's
Oh,
that's
There's a
correct.
some open space in there. I didn't see him
Yeah.
yesterday. I was right. I rode my bike right there, but I didn't see him. But I
He's hidden back in there, Chuck,
okay.
by the fence that backs up to the post office property,
Oh
I think.
yeah. Okay,
And
I've seen that guy.
he said he's just passing through, but he's got a huge, a lot of stuff. And so I couldn't quite buy that. And because he's cooking there and causing the residents of that housing development concern, um, I feel like we need to get on that.
Absolutely.
yeah, I'll go
Yeah.
check it out. I should be in tomorrow, so I'll go check it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, Emily.
I I just wanted to mention the potential changes to the encampment policy were brought up, and certainly if you have comments or want to be included in, providing feedback, that's a good idea. I don't think Catherine is on this call, but she'd be a good person to reach out to. But I did want to just mention that changes have to do with amount of time for noticing and amount of days of storage of items. I haven't heard anything about changes, to outreach or offering of services. There, are some discussions around safe parking or safe sleeping and, starting that conversation. So, this would be going to the Board of Supervisors later for discussion. I don't have the exact date right now.
Just
Has it been calendared, Emily?
Let me see if I can
Okay.
find that.
And Chuck, to the extent, we were just talking earlier when we were talking about what caused the influx of new folks and, different theories, but to the extent that if it is caused by clearings, this, I guess this is going to, that the county's policy can have a big impact on the city. If they're going to be pushing people out of their encampments, it affects us. And so this is, you know, it's very consequential if they're moving everyone out of IV into Goleta. And so we might want to comment or something like that on this because this clearly significantly impacts us. if depending on what they're proposing. It's one thing to say we're going to clear people. It's another thing to say we're going to clear people and have nowhere to send them or anything like that.
I think it's what Emily was just saying. The proposal is around changing the amount of time that's given for noticing from 72 to 48 hours. So that's the main change that's being considered at present.
And then storage for 60 days, possibly
Thank
instead
you.
of 90 days.
Okay.
So yeah, so this will be an ongoing conversation. All right, let's go to our Good Samaritan team. Let's go to the ARPA team to start.
Hi, good morning. This is Jose with Good Samaritan ARPA Outreach. We had a couple of clients last week. We had up to 6 new client intakes. We had like 20 individuals we made contact with. We also did a lot of outreach in the parks of Goleta. We also passed out over 80 water bottles, 50 hygiene packs, and then we also did a lot of client supporting. Sorry, we're currently right now helping a client, but we also did over 80 flyers, and we passed them out for the warming shelter hotline, and we are continuing to support our clients, especially right now, checking up on them, making sure they have food, they have water, and then seeing we could give them a ride to the warming shelters if possible. That's it for ARPA.
Thank you. Thanks, Jose. We appreciate the rides too, because we know it can be a lot for someone to get there, especially in the rain. Let's go to the Good Sam surf team.
Good morning. This is Todd with Good Samaritan Shelter Surf 2. Last week, the team was able to get 4 individuals in the shelter. We also got 2 individuals document ready. Also happy to announce that 2 of our long-time unhoused clients from Goleta are moving into permanent stable housing the first week of December. Also, the team did several housing applications to Hotel de Riviera, Wilbridge, as well as El Carrillo. We did Oskio Creek, Goleta Beach, and as well as all of IB. Fulcrum has been updated with detailed photos. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, let's go to, I don't see safe parking on the call today, so we'll go to George of the city.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. This past week, we just focused on abandoned encampment cleanup. So we did several cleanups throughout Elwood Mesa for individual sites, and then focused on Old Town Goleta and the San Jose Creek corridor, both upstream of 101 and downstream. Just the summary is this: there's a lot of active camps, not at Elwood anymore, but at San Jose Creek. Just a lot of trash. Our focus last week was just getting that trash out before our rain storms this week. And then just to echo some of the comments made by Chuck earlier, definitely I'm seeing an uptick in activity, mainly in the form of abandoned shopping carts full of possessions, and then quite a few new faces around town at intersections, panhandling, and then the number of vehicles that we're seeing, not so much this last week, but the week prior and 2 weeks prior to that, we had quite a bit of activity at the Elwood Mesa public parking lot, which was connected to an encampment clearing west of Goleta that I've mentioned before on this call, that's along Calle Real outside of town. So my understanding is that encampment got cleared, but there are folks back at that encampment as well now. So that's it.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. Deputy Warden, do you have any updates you want to share?
Good afternoon, everybody. I don't. I'm currently away at a conference. I don't have any law enforcement related updates, but if anybody has any questions, I can answer those.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Yep.
Adriana, do you have any updates you want to share from Hedges House of Hope?
Hello, everyone. No, not necessarily. I do have a couple of male beds available to increase. Before I had two available, now I have four. And still the count for three women, female beds. So that's pretty much our update right now at Hedges.
Thank you. Is there any changes to your beds during inclement weather, Adriana?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And I do want to actually backtrack, I'm sorry, to the Good Samaritan teams. I meant to ask about whether your teams will be working during Thursday, Friday. Maybe we can start with Jose or Todd. You can go ahead.
No, we're actually off Thursday, Friday. At least our two team is. So
Okay. All right, we can circle back with the ARPA team. So then I think last was Officer Gaston.
Hello, thanks, Landon. I don't have any updates actually, no, I do. I was successful in getting in contact with the hierarchy with the Santa Barbara Airport Police
Ah,
Department regarding that little kind of quasi-concealed area between Buena Terra and the airport. It looks like Santa Barbara Police Department is going to be kind of overseeing that department or working in some kind of collaborative effort to where they're getting supervision from Santa Barbara Police Department. So I expect they'll start attending the meetings, maybe starting by next week. So you'll probably hear from them shortly.
excellent.
That's great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Chuck, anything else you wanted to touch on or any specific encampments?
Um, no, I don't have any. I mean, typically what I do is when I hear reports from people like Irene and others in the community, I've been in pretty constant communication with CityNet, um, including over the weekends, and so we pretty have a pretty good rapid response when there's concerns in the community, and that's partly why Landon and I are trying to make sure that the word is getting out that we do have a responsive program. Um, so no, that's pretty much it. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. So, well, with that, we'll open it up for, are there any other questions or concerns from anyone in the community? Go ahead, Irene.
Um, I'm I spoke to Brian, who is the head ranger at Goleta Beach, and he goes to Goleta Beach every morning at 5:45, and he says that whole parking lot on the left side is all filled with cars. And I was wondering, could you make that a safe parking spot? Although there's, the bathrooms were closed, but now they're fixed. I don't know. It, and now that the restaurant's going to be open in a week, and it's going to be open till 2 o'clock in the morning, so that whole parking lot's going to be filled. It might be filled with people camping out. I don't know. There's no permanent ranger there, which is what Brian's really upset about because there was, and then they tore his house down. So they're trying to get a permanent ranger, but in the meantime, why can't that be safe parking?
Yeah, I'll pass that along. The Safe Parking Program has a long list of lots that they either have asked in the past or have yet to ask. And so we can check with them to see if it's on either of those lists.
And the city of Goleta unfortunately doesn't have any relationship with Goleta Beach per se.
Right.
So
But the
that's
county
why,
does.
yeah, the county does. No, I think it's an interesting idea, and it's been a de facto state parking site for generations. And many people that I've talked to who live in vehicles have spent time there. So you're right.
Thanks, Irene. Anything else from anyone in the community? All right, not seeing anything.
Oh,
We can go
hold
ahead.
on a second. I wanted to ping Randy because Randy and I ran into each other on Friday night. Randy, I didn't get any communication from you. Was there a particular spot that you were concerned about?
I texted you this morning.
Oh, I don't know if I got it.
Oh.
I don't know
Anyway, it's It's just on the south side of the lake in Rancho Goleta. People have been fishing from there because it was posted on Instagram that there's big fish in the lake. But people come there. It's like a Goleta Beach Annex now. People come and fish a lot. And then last Thursday, I started to see people there at night uh, with lights on, and somebody supposedly there's someone staying there now, and they have their own home. They have their own solar panel, and I just
So this is This is actually private property. It's
to
Connor. It's a Fest Parker. So this is an area that we've had a lot of in the past. The sheriffs have responded pretty frequently over there. Connor, are you aware of the area that Randy's talking about?
Yeah, so I was out there on Friday morning and walked that area, and I didn't see any encampments because I was actually helping SoCal Gas clear an encampment on their property, which abuts that. So I walked that whole part of the property that says Parker property, and I did not see any encampment or signs of encampment. I mean, obvious signs of people coming there and fishing and leaving trash, but I did not see any encampment on Friday. But so
So if this continues, Randy, if you see somebody returning or you see more activity, just let me know.
Yeah.
Email me. You can email me pictures, whatever. And as is obvious, the sheriffs are right on it. So thank you, Officer Warden, for that.
And I came on late this morning, but I don't know if there's any sort of freedom centers are going to be opening anytime.
They are. They're open this week. They're open. I don't know the full dates range that they're open. I know it's certainly tonight and tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always reluctant if I don't have some place to. But I'll leave it up. I'll let you know if I do find somebody there.
Do you have the new number, the new Freedom Warming Center number? Because it's the hotline. Then you can put that up again. They changed the number this year.
Okay.
And I think it's only activated tonight, as far as I know. Sorry, Emily, go ahead.
Yeah, so far only activated Monday, November 25th.
What are the hours?
I believe
From
it's
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
6 to 6. Thank you.
And tonight it's at the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara on Santa Barbara Street.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for spreading the word.
Okay.
Anything else? Well, if not, I want to wish you all happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thankful for you all being here because this is kind of how we can make change in the community. So appreciate you taking some time.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.
Thanks all.
Chuck, do you want to stay on? We can just chat for a few minutes right now.
Yeah.